What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MMA Engine and welcome to the main event deep dive for UFC Vegas 50. We have Magomed Ankalaev going against Thiago Santos. Should be a very fun fight in the light heavyweight division. I am here, as always, with Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, you looking forward to breaking down this main event?
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be pretty one-sided. You know, we got a 38-year-old guy coming up against a 29-year-old guy. I was telling Brady just before we went on, there's like a little clip during it was the current champion Teixeira's fight week. The last time he was around, Ankalaev fought, I believe, Krylov on that card, and he was going up to Ankalaev saying, "You're the future champ." You know, that's the current champ saying that. You know, so it's really easy to get excited to see this guy fight. I mean, he's great everywhere. He's up and coming. He only has one loss on his record, and I mean, if you watch all the tape on this guy, he's lost about 3 seconds of the fight tape that you see that's out there for this guy, and we've got like over 100 minutes of it, including regional scene footage. So yeah, Magomed Ankalaev is special. And we got, Santos, who's been, a 22 fight veteran in the UFC, a guy that's a finisher, a hard hitter, a very exciting fighter to watch in his own right. So it should be a great main event. Can't wait to break it down with you guys.
Yep, should be a good one for sure. Before we get started, we'll shout out the chat. If you guys can all leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the MMA Engine. Just hit 200 subscribers, so growing pretty fast, and it is all thanks to you guys. Let's see. First one in the chat, Daz Files. What is up, Daz? Saying, let's go. Juicy high res MMA Engine allows me to sit on my couch and watch on the big screen. There you go. Lazy AF, perfect for a wet day. Yeah, it's raining where I'm at as well. Shout out to Daz for hanging out. We got Lou Betchi. I was telling Uncle Weezy before the stream that I haven't heard much from you, so we know that you're out there working hard, Lou, saying, I guess this is time for a break. And yeah, definitely take a little break, man. Don't want to wear yourself out too much. And then we have MMA Monk in the chat as well. What's up, boys? What is up, chat? What is up, Monk? But I say, as always, we start with the tail of the tape. So we have Magomed Ankalaev, who is 29 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. Going against Thiago Santos, 38 years old, 6'2", with a 76-inch reach. So, their height and reach is pretty comparable. You have Ankalaev with a 1-inch height advantage, and then you have Santos with a 1-inch reach advantage. The one thing that jumps out, to me is going to be the 9-year age gap in terms of Santos and Magomed Ankalaev. We have Thiago Santos, who is now 38 years old at this point, which is definitely getting up there. We see, some light heavyweights especially, can fight up until their 40s and have success. Obviously, Glover Teixeira, the champion, is I think like 42 or 43 years old. But, I think it's a little bit different with Santos. He's been in a lot of wars. He suffered a lot of injuries, especially after the John Jones fight. And we really do see him slowing down a lot. And I think that's a big, thing to talk about in this fight. Whereas we have Ankalaev, he's 29 years old. He's in his prime. I think he's even getting better. This guy is an absolute beast. So let's take a look at the last few fights. We see that Thiago Santos is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had that knockout win against Jan Blachowicz. He went 25 minutes with John Jones and lost a split decision. A very impressive performance. I forget the exact odds, but John Jones was a huge favorite in that fight, and it was a close fight. It really was. Glover Teixeira lost by submission in a fight where he hurt Glover Teixeira really bad in the first round. I think he hurt him bad again in the third round, and then ultimately ended up getting finished in that third round as well. And then loses a decision to Alexander Rakic and loses a decision or wins a decision against Johnny Walker. But honestly, I don't think anybody really deserved to win that fight. I think they both probably should have got a loss for that one, because I think they landed less than 100 strikes in a 25-minute fight that didn't touch the mat at all. So he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Magomed Ankalaev, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Like Weezy said, his only loss was against Paul Craig in a fight that he was dominating up until the very final second of the fight, and he tapped with literally 1 second left. Probably one of the flukiest losses in UFC history that comes to mind. But other than that, he's been perfect. Knockout win against Dolce Longambula, a knockout win against Ain Kudalaba. That was the fight where Kudalaba was kind of wobbling, and the ref just stopped it a little bit early. But they fought again, and then he ended up knocking him out pretty convincingly there. Very scary knockout there. And then won a decision against Nikita Krylov, and then also won a decision against Volkan Oezdemir. I did like to see that win against Volkan Oezdemir. So this was a pretty big step up in competition, going from guys like Hudalaba, Dalcha, Paul Craig, guys like that, to a Volkan Oezdemir, who I really like and who I'm really high on. And he went out there and it was, pretty clean performance. It was able to hurt Oezdemir a couple times, dropped Oezdemir as well. So it's nice to see that, big step up in competition here. And, honestly, this is a fight where, I guess you can say it's a step up, I guess. But, Thiago Santos has just not been looking that great. Honestly, it's probably even a step down from a guy like Volkan Oezdemir at this point. So Weezy, I guess we'll start as always with the experience stats. And I'm sure it's going to be pretty much in favor of Thiago Santos. The dude's been fighting forever.
Yeah, he's absolutely been fighting forever, and we'll talk about the strength of schedule later. But on paper, obviously the strength of schedule is much stronger for Thiago Santos. But yeah, we're talking about 14 more professional fights here for Santos, about 100 more minutes in the pro cage, and 3 more years as a pro. And then we look at 14 more fights at the UFC level here. We got over 100 more minutes in the UFC cage. So he's obviously the more experienced mixed martial artist here. But, like we say, he's 9 years older, and that makes a big difference, especially when we're talking about a 29-year-old versus a 38-year-old. This isn't a 19-year-old versus a 28-year-old, where like the age advantage would be probably with the older guy, the more experienced fighter, the fighter that's really grown into their body. At this point, we do have a guy in Santos who's had a couple of really serious knee surgeries, had those knees reconstructed. And, he was an athletic, explosive guy. If those knees aren't carrying the same kind of blast that they had back in the day, he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble, because when a guy, relies on their explosiveness, and that explosiveness goes, there's not much technique to back that up. And we look at a guy like Santos, who's not been the best minute winner here, but he is a fantastic moment winner. And when we look at, the moment winning, when we're talking about guys who finish, right? And Ankalaev has a 56% finish rate as a pro, 57% finish rate in the UFC, while Thiago Santos has a 73% finish rate as a pro and a 79% finish rate in his 14 wins in the UFC. So 11 of those 14 wins coming inside the distance. So it's actually Santos who is the better finisher, even at the UFC level. And he's even got 1 submission on his record. Magomed Ankalaev has actually never submitted anybody. So that's kind of surprising. And then we look here, we see Ankalaev's only loss coming inside the distance with 1 second left in a fight. And then Santos, in his 9 pro losses, has been finished in 6 of them. And in his 8 UFC losses, has been finished in 5 of those 8 UFC losses. So definitely Santos, losing 9 fights to Ankalaev's 1, I would say that Santos is less durable, because it was really just not knowing what time was left in the fight there for Ankalaev, which is surprising, because, you hear the clappers go at 10 seconds, man. And I don't know what he was thinking there, but that triangle had to be vice-like, Brady. It had to be vice-like, because you go back and you watch that fight, it doesn't even get slapped down with 10 seconds left, 15 seconds left. Dude, it gets slapped down with 5 seconds left. And that's just how dangerous Paul Craig is from his guard. And he's just so fast. It was kind of like Wellington Turman's armbar on Serkinov a couple weeks ago, man, where he snatched that thing up and the fight was over immediately. And that's what happened to Ankalaev here. So, yeah, obviously it's going to be Santos who's got the experience advantage, but that 9 years younger for Ankalaev is not to be ignored. But we also can't ignore the UFC level experience, the pro experience as a whole, and the more explosive finishing rates in the past that Santos has had in comparison to Ankalaev.
Yeah, definitely. If people are new to watching MMA, say in like the last couple of years, they might not know a ton about Thiago Santos. This guy used to be a problem. Went out there and knocked out Jan Blachowicz in the 3rd round back in 2019, knocked out Jimmy Manawa back in 2018, Eric Anders, took Kevin Holland to decision, beat him there, and knocked out Anthony Smith, knockout wins over Jack Hermanson, Gerald Mearshart, Jack Marshman. This guy, used to be a problem, used to be so dangerous, and he is still dangerous. It's just, you take a look at his last couple fights, and it just doesn't look right to me. And a lot of that is because of the age. He's now 38 years old. A lot of that is the wear and tear on his body. Multiple injuries on his knees. That John Jones fight, took a lot out of him, obviously. And then he hasn't looked the same since. The Teixeira fight, he hurt Teixeira very early, and then hurt him again in the third round, but Teixeira was able to finish him. And then in the Rakic fight, just not a lot going on, very low volume. Couldn't really get anything going. He just did not look good in that fight. And then in the Walker fight that he actually won, which, by the way, like I said, I don't think anybody should have won that. Yeah. He landed 44 strikes in a 25-minute fight. Like, that's not going to work here against Ankalaev. So I guess we'll talk about the striking numbers. I think most importantly, the striking numbers are going to be what we're talking about most. And then we'll also talk about the grappling numbers in a second. But let's shout the chat real quick. Jeffrey saying, oi, oi, oi. We got Jay saying, what's up, fellas? What is up, Jay? We got MMA Asphalt in the chat as well. Let's get it, boys. Let's get it. Power Wipe hanging out. Everyone, let's do this homework. And the general saying, press the like button. I totally agree. Press the like button. It does help us out a ton. Asphalt saying, I'm just going to forget about the Paul Craig fight. Never happened in my mind. Yeah, I mean, that's not the worst idea. And then Monk saying Ankalaev 9,600 on DK. Boo. Yeah, that is a ton.
Boo this man.
I agree.
Boo.
That is a lot of salary for Ankalaev here.
Man.
But Weezy, the striking numbers, let's hear them. I'm curious to hear about these ones.
Yeah, before we get into the striking numbers, for those of you guys who are Kevin Holland fans, right? Let me just remind you how Kevin Holland got into the UFC. So Kevin Holland comes in on the Contender Series, talks shit for 15 straight minutes, doesn't finish his opponent, and really doesn't do anything but piss off Dana White, who basically said that the guy had an opportunity to show up, finish his opponent, and what he did was he just talked shit the entire time, right? So Thiago Santos has got a fight. I forget it against who, and Santos's opponent drops out. So when you got a problem like Santos, in the middleweight division, right, you start picking up that phone and you try to get people to take the fight. And, of course, everybody's like, just fuck you, Dana. I'm not taking that fight. That's how big of a problem Santos was before the knee reconstructions. He was a guy, nobody wants to fight somebody that has a tattoo of a sledgehammer on their chest. I mean, you go and you do shit like that, you're going to wind up in the hospital. You have very bad decision-making qualities in your life, and you're probably going to have a very painful life if you get into fights with guys who have sledgehammer tattoos on their chests. But in the UFC, when you fight somebody that has a sledgehammer tattoo on their chest, they're going to cut you a big check just for showing up. Well, that check isn't big enough for a lot of people to just show up. So finally, after getting the phone slammed down like 15 times, he finally says, you know what? I'll bet you that prick who never stopped talking shit would actually be stupid enough to take this fight. And Kevin Holland was, and he lasted the full 3 rounds and really gave a really fantastic account of himself and showed how tough he was by, first of all, just picking up the phone to take that fight, showing up, and then having a good account of himself. But that's the difference now between that old Santos was the guy that nobody wanted to get in the cage with because he could win a moment like that and separate you from your consciousness. And he's just a different fighter now. He has that mystique in the past that you would respect if you didn't have your own offensive game to bring with it. And we see it here in the striking numbers, Brady. 4.16 landed, only 2.4 absorbed. Fantastic offensive striking ratios there. 48% accuracy. This guy's landing a knockdown on 1.68% of the significant strikes that he's landing. So that would be 11 knockdowns in 22 UFC fights. That's crazy power. That's 1.05 knockdowns per 15 minutes. He's been knocked down 3 times in 447 significant strikes absorbed. And so he's absorbing 0.24 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So he's landing about 4 knockdowns for every one that he absorbs. So very good power on the offensive side for Thiago. And then we look across at Magomed, and, really fantastic. He lands less, but his opponents land even less than Santos's opponents. So we got 3.6 landed, only 2.05 absorbed. He's about 7.5% more accurate on the aggregate is Ankalaev. He's landing a knockdown on 2.12% of the 283 significant strikes that he's landed. That's 6 knockdowns in 8 fights, landing zero point 0.1 more knockdowns per 15 minutes than even Santos is. And he's never been knocked down. And he's even got a 6% better striking defense. The only thing that Santos does better than Ankalaev on the aggregate is out voluming his opponents 8.65 to 5.51, while Ankalaev only out volumes his opponents by about 1 significant strike attempt per minute. But yeah, when you look at the striking statistics and you see one guy in Ankalaev who's on the rise, and then a 38-year-old in Santos who's kind of on the decline, it does look like Ankalaev will be the minute winner and moment winner here on the feet. So where are we going to find some winning minutes for Thiago Santos here, Brady? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it had to be like a winning moment. I think he's gonna have to hurt Ankalaev, and Ankalaev's never been knocked down, so he had to be the first one. But yeah, those striking numbers for Santos especially are very interesting and very impressive. Like you said, 3.95 landed, 2.28 absorbed, and then going back and looking at his last 2 fights, Santos lands 48 or 44, and Johnny Walker lands 48. And then in the Rakic fight, Santos does land 49 and Rakic lands 36. So in the last 2 fights, which both went the distance, and I don't think either of those fights touched the mat. I think Rakic might have got him down maybe like once or held him against the cage a little bit, but for the most part, they were on the feet, and he's not landing a ton. So you got to think that Ankalaev is not going to go out there and fight like a Johnny Walker, right?
I mean, Walker showed him a lot of respect. I don't know if Ankalaev is going to show him that same respect. And you watch, I've seen Ankalaev fight off his back foot successfully, and I've seen him pressure successfully. So I don't think it really matters whether Santos pressures him or not. I think that either way, we're going to see Magomed just be really comfortable on the feet. And whenever he's not comfortable on the feet, he can bring the fight to the ground. And he's out controlling his opponents at a 7-to-1 ratio down there almost. So yeah, it's going to be hard, to find places where Thiago can win minutes here.
Yeah. So do you think that Ankalaev will, resort to some takedowns? I was, watching some of his fights, and he did go and get a couple takedowns in the Krylov fight. He took down Krylov 3 times. He took down Dolce. I think he attempted 3 takedowns in that fight. He did end up getting Dolce down, and then when he was on top, he looked really good. Do you think just another path to victory for Ankalaev would be mixing in these takedowns?
Absolutely, because I think really, as good of a wrestler as Magomed is, as explosive as a striker he is, as we see the knockouts in the second Kudalaba fight, for instance, in the Dolce fight with that straight kick right up the middle on the chin that just separates Dolce from his consciousness. And then he lands the overhand right while Dolce's unconsciously doing the Nesty plunge right into the canvas there. This guy has ridiculous power. So, but that's not even the most terrifying part of his game, dude. It's the ground and pound. When this guy gets top position, Brady, he's got a next level brand of ground and pound here. A Jack Hermanson, Shavkat Rachmanov brand of ground and pound. So I think he will go for takedowns here because Thiago Santos is a guy who we've seen in 22 fights face 56 takedown attempts, right? And people have been successful getting him to the ground. His takedown defense is below 70% over a big sample size. And he's been out-controlled, 18.4% to 13.6% by his opponents. So we've seen people decide, especially earlier in Thiago's career, I'm not going to stand and bang with a guy with a sledgehammer tattooed on his chest, so maybe I'll just try to take him down. Well, Ankalaev can take the fight to the ground. He is a pretty good wrestler. But once he gets the fight to the ground, I think that's when he's really at his best because that ground and pound. I mean, like you watch regional scene footage on this guy, he's making dudes tap to strikes, on the regional scene. I mean, his ground and pound is absolutely next level. So yeah, long story short there, I think he's going to be shooting takedowns here, dude.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart. I feel like Santos, his only path to victory is, landing one of those big shots. So why not just take him down, win minutes on the mat, so you don't have to worry about that. Let's see what people are saying in the chat here real quick. Lou asking, does the Yambegs hit in this fight the only reason I'm here? I will lean towards no. Do you think Yambegs in this fight?
Dude, I think there's better Yambag shot possibilities here. We've seen some of these guys really As a matter of fact, we saw Ankalaev, I think, take one from Kudalaba there. But I think there's better shots here. Pereira Silva would be a great Yambag moment. I could see the Lungi and Bula Brundage fight being a Yambag festival, especially with those guys being in the clinch a lot. We could see knees to the Yambags as well, which aren't as entertaining, but they pay the same if you bet the point deduction.
Maybe Mirzakhanov and Chukwu could be a Yambags.
We could see that as well. Yeah, they're both kind of, like low centers of gravity there. They're like fire hydrants, both of them, So, I mean, I could maybe see some low kicks, some knees. Yeah, man. So I don't know about the Yambags in this one, but we've seen Ankalaev take one square there, or a couple in the past.
There you go. Lou, Powerwipe saying, interesting note, Thiago no longer gets a win bonus. He gets incentive and base pay. Magomed still gets a win bonus. I did not know that, but yeah, that is definitely something to mention there. Let's take a look at the strength of schedule here, Weezy. Is there anything sticking out to you as a whole?
Well, it's definitely the strength of schedule. I mean, you could just eye the last 5 and be like, wow, Santos has been fighting the better competition. In the last 5, this guy's fought 3 former champions, or 3 that have been champions at some point in their career. Rakic, who probably will be getting a title shot soon, and Johnny Walker. While Ankalaev's fighting Ozdemir, who's top 10, but then Krylov, and then poor Magomed. He lost like a year and a half of his career on that Kudalaba fight, because the Kudalaba fight gets called off for COVID. They reschedule it for next month. It gets called off for COVID. And then it happens, and Jason Herzog mistakenly stops the fight because Kudalaba is moving in his head in a way that makes him look drunk. And they accidentally stop the fight. And then, of course, Kudalaba's like, I want a rematch. That's bullshit. So they make the rematch. And then that one gets put off a month. Somebody else gets COVID. I mean, I think like Marcel Dorf announced for like the 4th time that fight was not going to happen. And I think that he just simply put, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, the fight got called off so many times. So we lost a lot. He lost a lot of his career. I think about a year and 4 months just trying to get that Ian Kudalaba victory in his rearview mirror so he could move on. And then he got Krylov and Ozdemir. So this is the next step up. A guy that's fought champions. He's lost to them, but he has beaten Jan Blachowicz, knocked him out in the 3rd round. So this is the next step up the ladder here. It's a 1.85 win-to-loss ratio on the aggregate for Santos, while it's 1.36 for Ankalaev. And Santos is fighting the better, more experienced brand of competition with 11.55 total fights to 7.38 for Ankalaev. And when we look at the wins, which is my favorite thing to look at, the wins are better too. The average opponent for Thiago Santos that he beats in the UFC has almost 7 wins and 4 losses, almost 11 total fights, 1.71 win-to-loss ratio. And Ankalaev's wins are over guys that are just a shade over 500. 4 wins, 3 losses, 7 total fights, 1.33 ratio. And then when you look at the losses, let's remember that while Ankalaev has lost 1 fight, let's just say he's lost 1 second of 1 fight, and you just lost the worst second that you could possibly lose. So, and Santos is losing to guys that have an 8.63 win and 4.13 loss record, 12.75 total fights, and a 2.09 win-to-loss ratio. So, yeah, the guys that are beating Santos, if we go over to the advanced stats, we can see that Paul Craig's the only guy to beat Magomed Ankalaev, but we see for Santos here, it's Cesar Ferreira, Uriah Hall, Mousasi, and then he lost to Eric Spicely. And that's the proof that, if you want the path of least resistance, just take the guy down and try to submit him. No point in trying to get your head knocked off. So even Spicely was able to take this guy down and submit him. David Branch, who's known for his aggressive grappling and being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who uses his grappling and his clinch game to win fights, beat him. But then it's, the greatest of all time, 21-0, John Jones. The current champion, Glover Teixeira, 16-5. And then Rakic, who's been 6-1. So, yeah, those are the guys who are beating Thiago Santos. And he's got wins over Walker, Blachowicz, Manoa, Anders, Holland, Smitty, Hermanson, Mearshart, and the list goes on. So, I would give the strength of schedule advantage here to Santos, but we have to ask ourselves, are the best years behind him now that he's 38, now that he's got 2 reconstructed knees, now that he might not even be getting win bonuses, as Power White pointed out. So, yeah, man, this is going to be interesting.
Yes, it will for sure. And yeah, like you said, I don't think this is the same Santos. If this fight was to happen, say, before the John Jones fight, I think it'd be lined a lot closer. Like right after he knocked out Blachowicz, there was a lot of hype on Santos, and rightfully so.
Absolutely. And why wouldn't it be a lot closer? Because, we don't know how Magomed Ankalaev responds when he faces adversity, because he's seen it for 1 second and he tapped immediately. So, if Santos lands a big shot, yeah, then he's absolutely live. But, is he going to be landing these big shots anymore? Does he have that explosiveness and that crazy power that he used to have, before the injuries, before the wear and tear, before the 31 professional mixed martial arts bouts and 22 at the UFC level, some of them against former champions and current champions? So, yeah, man, really rough strength of schedule here for Santos, but he has fought, beaten, and lost to the better brand of competition here.
Oh, yeah. Math question for you. So how many significant strikes on average does Santos land when getting a knockout?
Oh, wow. That I could do that. Let's see. So if we got a win I'll just highlight the wins by knockout and we can do this here. So we got the Blachowicz win, the Manoa win, the Anders win. We've got the Smitty win. We've got the Hermanson win. We've got the Mearshart win. We've got the Marshman win. We've got the Marquardt win. And we've got the Bossy win. Remember Steve Bossy?
Bossy.
Andy Enns. Remember Andy Enns? And then we got a knockout win against Ronnie Marks, right? So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11 knockout wins, right? 52 plus 42 plus 100 plus 58 plus 28 plus 60 plus 27 plus 16 plus 3 plus 20 plus 7 equals 413 divided by 11 knockout wins is what we said, right?
Yep.
He lands 37.54 significant strikes when he wins by knockout per fight.
That's interesting, huh? That's crazy. That's some power right there.
Yeah, he's he definitely does that. And I mean, in those fights, that's 13 knockdowns out of the or let's do this times 11, right? It's 413. And then if we take those 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12 knockdowns divided by those 413, he's landing a knockdown on 3% of the significant strikes that he lands when he does win by knockout. So that would say like he's going to probably knock you down if he lands 33 significant strikes. Over a 5-round fight, that's the kind of power that's terrifying, and that's why people are shooting a ton of takedowns against him. Does he still have that power in his hands? Magomed's going to find out on Saturday.
Yeah, Magomed's definitely going to find out. Let's take a look at these odds, though. We see that Ankalaev opened up minus 330, and he is currently minus 500. Santos opens up plus 270, and he is currently plus 375. It's definitely wide, but I mean, I can't argue it too much just, with the recent form of Santos and, Ankalaev being 9 years younger in his prime, and just have not liked what I saw from Santos, as of late. But my goodness, I mean, talking about those power numbers, I mean, that would scare me off. I mean, at least a little bit from laying minus 500 on Ankalaev, but I think it's, pretty much warranted. What are your thoughts on the line? Do you think it's, too wide, too short, about right?
Yeah, it feels, it's one of those lines that it feels wide when you first look at it, but then when you say to yourself, where's this thing going to be on Saturday? Maybe minus 800, like Umar opened up right around here, minus 500. And then by fight time against Brian Keller, he's minus 1,500 because everybody's going to be parlaying this guy up this week.
Yeah.
And, so I think it even feels just a little bit short, not based on the skills of both fighters here, but really just based on where this line's gonna go. This guy Ankalaev is 9 years younger. He's better everywhere right now than Thiago Santos. He's even shown more power than Thiago Santos has over that huge sample size of fights. Landing 6 knockdowns in 8 fights instead of 11 or 12 in 22 for Thiago. So, it feels right to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue it myself. Paul saying, I think Santos can absolutely crack Magomed, so I think it's worth the dog shot. Yeah, like Weezy saying, if you like Santos, first of all, I think you just bet him by knockout. And the second of all,
you bet him by knockout. He's not winning minutes in this fight.
Yes.
He's not winning 3 rounds in this fight. It's going to be a knockout. So that's the way you bet it. That's the way you attack it, because you have to ask yourself, how do you win minutes against Magomed Ankalaev? We haven't seen anyone do it yet.
Yeah, MMA Locker Room in the chat. Wait, I know these two guys. Well, we know you, Mills. What is up, dude? Let's take a look at some of these other odds. And yeah, this is interesting. So you go back and you look at the Santos fights, right? And you're not going to see a lot of fights set at, say, 2.5 rounds. You're in the 5-round fights, you're not going to see a lot of fights set at 3.5 rounds. Usually, Santos fights are going to be set at that 1.5 round mark. But this is a fight where they actually set the over-under at 3.5, and it's about a pick 'em, minus 115 each way, minus 115 over 3.5, minus 115 under, and then the fight goes to decision plus 115. The fight doesn't go to decision is minus 145, and I think it's weird, right? Like, this feels like a fight where we'd be getting like a minus 300 fight doesn't go to decision. So what do you?
The last Thiago Santos fight that went 5 rounds was minus 550.
Exactly.
Fight doesn't go to decision. And I think just so many people just got their asses served up to them that day that they're saying, I am not betting this guy. And then the rest of us who didn't get cleaned up on that bet, that one's just screaming that's a good bet right there. Fight doesn't go minus 145 for any 5-round light heavyweight fight. You're getting plus EV there.
Yeah, and it's not like Santos can't be finished. Santos has been finished, 6 times in his career?
Yeah, I was just actually looking at that number. Thiago Santos has been finished in 6 of his 9 pro losses and in 5 of his 8 UFC losses.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, it just seems off. I mean, I could see it going to decision, I guess, but just the number just seems way off. I feel like it should be, a lot wider than this. So maybe it's because Santos did go to decision his last couple fights against Johnny Walker and stuff, but Ankalaev is not gonna fight like Johnny Walker. I'll say that right now. So let's take a look at Ankalaev by decision, and yeah, that's terrible. Ankalaev by decisions plus 125. Imagine sweating that for 25 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to bet those bets, dude. Sometimes when even you bet like I bet Court McGee to win by decision over Ramiz Brahimaj, who's a decision machine. And Court mounts him with 3 minutes left in the third, and he's just putting it on him. And I mean, I cashed the bet, but believe me, my sphincter was about that big. I mean, it was just, he couldn't even get any air in there. I was like, oh God, he's gonna finish him. Couldn't even sit on both butt cheeks at the same time. So. Yeah, you don't want, and a 5-round decision prop, we sweated it out for that little juice, man. I couldn't do it, dude. Even if I thought he was going to win this one by decision, I couldn't get on that.
I could not do that. And then what Santos by decision is plus 1,000. And, even like the decision only prop on DraftKings or Bet Online, whatever it is probably worth a shot, worth value. I'm assuming it's going to be probably minus 400, minus 300, but they're just, honestly, nearly a 0% chance Santos wins a decision. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I don't know how he wins minutes here. I mean, he's not taking down Magomed Ankalaev and winning minutes on the ground. And he's not really a volume striker. He does throw more volume than his opponents do on the aggregate over a long timeline. But these are light heavyweights. These aren't crazy volume guys. They don't really win with volume. They win by landing big shots, and both of these guys are landing knockdowns on around 2% of the significant strikes that they land. So they, I don't really think it's in the game plan for either of these guys to touch and go win minutes like that. These guys win moments, and they're good at it.
Ankalaev KO plus 130. Santos KO is plus 750. I mean, if you like Santos,
If
KO
you're on,
plus
I mean,
750,
like
yeah.
I might even just take a crack on that because that's the win condition.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Vegas is saying that he's, plus 400, they're saying that he's got a 20% chance to win the fight. He wins 1 out of 5 times. Well, you kind of got to figure that's 18% of that 20%, is a knockout.
Yeah, that line does seem off. So yeah, if you like Santos, the KO plus
That's how you play
750. Oh yeah, Ankalaev by submission plus 850. Santos by submission plus 2,000. Ankalaev inside the distance minus 110. Santos inside the distance is plus 700.
Wow. Yeah, and this finally just opened on Bet Online.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I might be making a move over there as soon as we're done here to maybe touch up that fight doesn't go to decision at minus 145. 5 rounds.
Yeah, I
Magomed
know.
Ankalaev and Thiago Santos. Dude, the guy has a sledgehammer tattooed on his chest. I mean, there's got to be violence, right?
Yeah, I feel like I should automatically betting that because I like bet violence in the Walker Santos fight. I think I had like the fight won't start like round 3 or something.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You look at it, and this is why you're getting the discount. Ozdemir, decision. Krylov, decision. Last 2 fights for Ankalaev go to decision. Santos, 5-round decision against Walker. 3-round decision against Alexander Rakic. And, so that's probably why you're getting this discount. I mean, you shouldn't even, just on the aggregate, get minus 140 for a light heavyweight fight finishing inside the distance in 5 rounds. I can guarantee you're getting plus EV on the benchmarks for that over the long term. So that looks like the bet that I'm going to be touching up here first, and then I will be looking at using Ankalaev as a parlay piece.
Yeah, I think it's a solid parlay piece for sure. Not a ton of parlay pieces on this card for me. I think there's like two valid ones, if that.
Yeah.
But Ankalaev, I'd say, would be one of them. They have the scorecards equals no action. I'm curious to see what the decision only is going to be. See if they mess that up, but I'm sure they'll be on it. The Ankalaev scorecards equals no action minus 500. Santos scorecards equals no action plus 350. Any like round props? Do you see a round that this could finish in, or like Ankalaev round 4 plus 1,400, Ankalaev round 5 plus 2,200, Ankalaev round 3 plus 800? None of those really stick out to me. But yeah, the fight doesn't go minus 145. It's minus 140 on 5 dimes, and it looks like money's coming in on the fight goes decision for some reason on 5 dimes at least.
I'm fine with that. It's. But like we just said, hey, the last 4 combined fights of these 2 guys have went to decision. So, I see why people might think that that's the best way to go here. They might think, all right, Thiago is not the same explosive fighter that he was before, but he also kind of has that mystique. So he may prevent his opponent from being aggressive. And it could be a staring contest like Johnny Walker was in for the last 5 rounds. But, dude, that's not Magomed Ankalaev. I mean, I don't think he fears anybody in this division. Mm-hmm. And I just watched that first Kudalaba fight. Kudalaba, he walks across the cage while he's being announced and gets in his opponent's face. Well, he did that to Magomed, and Magomed just put double underhooks on him and threw him into the cage. I mean, like, he was like, nah, son, you're going to have to try that bullshit on somebody else. I'm not here for that. And then he kicked his ass not once but twice. So, I don't think that Magomed's going to be showing Thiago Santos the same kind of respect that his last opponents did. Even John Jones I was screaming at the television during that fight. I'm like, John, go get him. He's on, the announcers were like telling John, his legs are fucked. What are you waiting for here? So, I just don't see Magomed showing him that respect. I think he's going to march him down. I think he's going to finish him.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Mills saying fight starts round 3. There's no line on that yet. Not sure what that will be. And then Alex saying press the like button. I do agree with Alex. So yeah, that's about it. We went a little longer than I expected on this fight. We talked about a good amount. So we talked about the tail of the tape, experience, striking, grappling, strength of schedule. We talked some betting, all that. Weezy, what are your final thoughts on this fight, and what's your prediction and best bet for it?
Yeah, so I like the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 145 on Bet Online, available right now. I think that would probably be my best bet. I'll be looking at an Ankalaev inside the distance line at just a little bit of plus money there, plus 120, I believe it's at right now. Ankalaev money line as a parlay piece, I believe is just fine at minus 500. If there's something that, like if you really like Dober, or if you really like Song, or if you really like Pereira, if you really like, there's a bunch of favorites that are out there sitting around minus 180 to minus 250. If there's one that you really fancy this week, parlay him up with Ankalaev money line. You don't have to worry about whether he finishes him or he doesn't. And then you can just kind of like maybe get something from minus 150, minus 140, and you get a little bit of leverage there. So those would be the best bets for me. The pick is Ankalaev, however he wants it. I just think he's better everywhere than Thiago right now. 9 years younger, different trajectories. And this guy's he's different. He's got that mystique about him. Like the belt's already got his name on it, and it's just a matter of time before he gets it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that at all. I thought you broke it down well. I'll be going with Ankalaev also. I just think that, Thiago Santos is definitely past his prime. The injuries, now 38 years old. You have the younger Ankalaev who is going to be the clear minute winner here. I think Santos is going to have to knock him out to win this fight. I mean, it's possible. It's a fight, of course, and Santos by KO is plus 750. That's literally how he wins.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take Ankalaev here, and yeah, like you said, the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 145. It just seems off. So I might be taking a look at that. But yeah, nothing else really sticks out from a betting perspective. Ankalaev as a parlay piece as well, or the fight doesn't go. So nothing really else sticks out. Don't want to touch like the KO, the decision. I don't want to touch any of those, but I do feel pretty comfortable about Ankalaev. He is probably my most confident pick on the entire card, which is not saying a lot. It's a tough card, and he is minus 500, but I do like him to win quite a bit. Weezy, anything else for this fight? And then also, you are going live tonight on the MMA Engine channel as well, right?
That's right, man. So nothing else really for this fight. I think we broke it down from nose to toes, man. I think we kind of gave everybody a pretty good look at what this one's going to look like. But tonight I'll be back 10 o'clock Central Time right here on the MMA Engine channel. Balls deep breakdown. I want to do that Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva fight, man. I mean, like that is such a banger. And I mean, everybody's got to be excited for this fight, right? Whether you're betting on it or not, how do you not get fired up for these two killers squaring off in a cage, man? It's going to be killer. So that's the fight tonight that we're going to do on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. I will be sending out the link on that on Twitter very shortly after we're done here today. And as always, Brady, God bless each and every one of you guys that are out here watching us do our thing. And let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 50.
Let's do it. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I just posted my full card breakdown prediction video as well. Do us a favor, leave a like on this video, subscribe here to the MMA Engine channel, and then I also put the Twitter and Instagram for MMA Engine in the description. Both is MMA_engine, so go check us out on the social medias as well. Best of luck, everybody, for UFC Vegas 50. Let's make some money, and we'll talk to you very soon. See you guys.